turning now to Epstein, we didn't have time to get into this, and it actually is worth fully going through all of the new information. Let's go ahead and put this up here on the screen. This was from a new release by the House Oversight Committee, which detailed a bunch of new Epstein files, as well as an interview with Alex Acosta, who was the prosecutor who ended up giving Epstein his sweetheart deal. Julie K. Brown, huge shout out to her from the Miami Herald. She's been covering this stuff from day one, and I look to her always for some of her information. She has even more detailed knowledge of the case than I do. What she was able to uncover is that Matthew Menschel, who was the chief of the criminal division of the Miami U.S. Attorney Office and helped negotiate Epstein's sweetheart deal, which allowed him to be released in 2009, is listed multiple times as having dinner and meetings with Epstein after leaving the U.S. Attorney's Office. So this is a huge bombshell because this is years after his release.
Oh, before you go on to that one?
Yeah, go ahead.
This is for context for later. Yeah. Notice on that one, 11:30 appointment with Leon Black.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I'll get back to that.
Put that one in your pocket.
Don't worry.
Same day.
I'm coming back to Leon.
Same day.
All right. Leon, yes. But on the same day, having dinner with Matt Menschel, the very same prosecutor who was part of the office. In what world is that appropriate? You helped lock somebody away, allegedly, even with the sweetheart deal, for a registered sex offender, right? And then you're having dinner with that person 3 years later. It's like, do you have any, semblance of making sure no conflict of interest? And
it's a Amanda Knox stuff right here.
Yeah, or even at a human level. Ryan, would you ever knowingly go into the house of somebody who is a registered sex offender?
No.
Yeah, exactly. All right. And this is my thing.
And he knows because he prosecuted him.
I always think about this with guys like George Stephanopoulos and others who are like, yeah, I had dinner with him. I go, maybe it's just me. I Google everybody who asked me to have dinner. Okay. And if you're even remotely sketchy, I'm like, yeah, it's not happening. And I can tell you I've been invited to some sketchy stuff around here. Why? Usually it has to do with arms dealers and stuff like that. I'm like, even then I'm like, yeah, I don't know. Who's paying for this, right? It's one of those where there's some blood money here on the table. I don't want to have anything to do with that. Or I'll split the bill with you if I think it's interesting. That's the thing where apparently I'm a YouTuber and I hold myself to that standard. And these guys are like, oh yeah, I prosecuted you. And even though you're a registered sex offender, I'm just gonna go ahead and I helped lock you away. I'm gonna go over to your house for dinner.
And it's probably not with people, I don't know about him specifically, but it's probably not even though or despite, it's because.
There you go.
Because he knows the details of what Epstein is into.
Yes.
He wants to hang out with him because he wants to get into that too.
Because he probably investigated. He probably had some of his tax returns and stuff in front of him. He goes, I need to get in on this. He's like, this is a good deal right here. By the way, speaking of that, as Ryan said, hold for Leon Black. Leon, I've talked about Leon from day one in the Epstein case. It remains one of the most mystifying. This is one of the titans of Wall Street, $9 billion net worth, $150 million payment to the Jeffrey Epstein estate that has been revealed for, quote, tax advice. Nobody knows why. He's been friends with him for decades. He's defended his relationship with Epstein, said he had no idea, put him on the board of his charities, decades-long friendship. Well, Leon's emails with Jeffrey Epstein came out, and they're pretty interesting, aren't they? They say Epstein was furious. For years, he had relied on Leon Black as his primary source of income, advising him on everything from taxes to his world-class art collection. By 2016, Black seemed reluctant to keep paying him tens of millions of dollars per year, so Epstein threw a tantrum. Epstein wrote in an email to Mr. Black, quote, he was another waste of money and space, attacked Mr. Black's children as retarded for supposedly making that's relatable, for making a mess of his estate. The typo-ridden tirade was one of dozens of previously unreported emails reviewed by the New York Times in which Epstein hectored Mr. Black, demanding tens of millions of dollars beyond the $150 million he had already been paid. The pressure campaign, Ryan, appeared to work. Mr. Black, for decades, who was one of the richest and most high-profile figures on Wall Street, forked tens of millions of dollars in fees and loans, albeit less than Mr. Epstein had been seeking. Of all the relationships, his friendship with Mr. Black is the most important. He served jail time for soliciting prostitution. Mr. Black kept him afloat for many years. The new emails provide the most complete picture yet of their relationship. Now, to be clear, for legal purposes, and with Mr. Black, I am simply noting how shocking it is for a titan of Wall Street, a private equity giant, one of the most well-known billionaires in the city of New York, how completely opposite it is to the way that the Apollo Group and others would conduct business, to seemingly constantly just caving to demands for tens of millions of dollars from Jeff Ripp. That's all I am noting. You can draw your own conclusion very specifically as to why anybody would ever act like that who made $9 billion and doesn't conduct business that way in any other.
Similar tone, and Black denies all things.
Yeah, Black vehemently denies.
Similar tone from the New York Times article that Saagar just put up. They write, and this is one of those delightful sentences in the New York Times, echoing Saagar, and quote, and for reasons that are unknown, Mr. Black wired hundreds of thousands of dollars to at least 3 women who were associated with Mr. Epstein, according to court documents and notes taken by congressional investigators that were shared with the Times. Representatives of Mr. Black did not respond to questions about those payments to women. So in other words, representatives responded to a bunch of other questions that the Times sent, but ignored those questions. So I like this phrase. For reasons that are unknown, Mr. Black wired hundreds of thousands of dollars to at least 3 women. We don't know why.
Yeah, they are.
Just good friends.
Remain unknown to this day.
Good friends with these women. They were they needed a little help get through the weekend or something.
It happens. Yeah. Who amongst us has not floated our friends' girlfriends, right? I mean,
with hundreds of thousands of dollars.
I do it every day, right? Of course.
And
totally.
And we're going to insinuate something about that? That's outrageous.
That's right. Exactly. I'm sure my wife would be cool with it, right? She'd be totally cool with it. So here's my other personal favorite from Mr. Black's lawyer. To imply Mr. Epstein somehow had influence over Mr. Black is false and patently absurd. Okay? To imply Mr. Epstein, who demanded tens of millions of dollars and received tens of millions of dollars and called his children retarded and also hectored and berated him, to imply he had any influence over Mr. Black is false and patently absurd. That's from Leon Black. Again, these guys, you think you just get $9 billion? You think somebody just hands it to you? No, you get it by being a swashbuckling deal maker. What if I was running the Apollo? By the way, these guys are legends on Wall Street, right? Apollo. Does Apollo just let somebody who they're doing a leverage buyout of demand certain terms of conditions? Is that how you got $9 billion in net worth? No, you would be a bankrupt, right? So we know he knows how to do business and to say no, how to say fuck you. That's literally part of being a Wall Street financer. And he did event. Well, we can get to that. Ish. But the point remains something for reasons that remain unknown that he continued to hand him tens of millions of dollars. Okay. All right, let's go to the next part here. This gets to the interview with Alex Acosta. I read the entire thing, several hundred pages. Kind of boring, to be honest. They didn't do a very good job. But guys, please put D3, please, up on the screen just to show you. The signature claim from Alex Acosta is that any trial of Jeffrey Epstein, quote, would have been a crapshoot. Now, this is a central issue because remember, Alex Acosta was the labor secretary under Trump. He was the prosecutor who did the sweetheart deal with Epstein. After he resigns as a labor secretary, the Office of Professional Review over the Justice Department does an internal investigation of the Epstein non-prosecution agreement. They find that Alex Acosta and his office acted improperly. Now, Acosta contends throughout this entire interview that he did nothing wrong and that he got the best possible deal. Now remember, the retroactive review by the DOJ specifically says that is not true. So they find fault with the actions of his office. Acosta stands up for the actions of his office, saying, effectively blaming the victim, saying, oh, well, they weren't credible enough to be able to bring them to trial. By the way, remember, that is in direct contravention of what some of the agents and the other people on the case said. So this is not 100% the view of the entire U.S. Attorney's Office. It is the view of Mr. Acosta. I will say, because there have been some sketchy questions here around the claim previously that he had said he belonged to intelligence, he claims that he never said that. He says, I never said it. So I want to make that very clear, because that's a quote I've relied on in the past.
It's one of the,
probably one of the most famous claims.
Yeah.
So I want to be clear that he now emphatically denies. He said, I never heard that from anybody. I didn't tell it to Steve Bannon. I have no idea where that comes from. So let's be clear. That's what he said. Now, I've laid out my other case for why I do think he was at the very least involved with multiple foreign intelligence agencies. But nonetheless, Alex Acosta says there was nothing untoward. I never had any indication he was intelligence or whatever. Nobody told me what to do, which, by the way, again, that doesn't fit with some of the past timeline. Like the previous timeline was that Washington actually made a phone call around this from the DOJ, but you have to get very dark and into the weeds on this. I think the fundamental premise, though, is even if we take all the intel stuff out of it and we just keep it focused on the victims, he basically was victim blaming throughout the entire thing. He said, yeah, they weren't credible, they made stuff up, MySpace page, they were sketchy, and so that's why the sweetheart deal is the best that we could possibly get. Again, that's totally disputed. So his mindset around it does not seem conciliatory at all. He still continues to defend his conduct, Ryan, which I personally find disgusting. Intelligence, no, if anything, it's worse. I'm like, oh, so you just, didn't believe them. He even says in there, he goes, well, the times were different. People didn't believe women at that time. I was like, so you're blaming the culture at the time? What is this? It was crazy.
And if you look through his emails and the different appointments that he had, what you realize is that Jeffrey Epstein knew everybody. Like he had pull with Russian oligarchs, top Russians, the Israelis, Europeans, Americans in both parties, and also Wall Street and like the banking world. Like he was at the middle of all of this stuff, and he had people who owed him and who he was willing to berate at the top levels everywhere. And so the idea that at minimum he didn't call in favors and that his powerful friends didn't do anything for him just is not remotely credible.
Yep.
Like that, even if you don't think, even if you dismiss the intel part, but also to me the intel part is a bit of a red herring, because what we found going through all of these emails, he was absolutely doing work for people that are in the orbits of this intel world.
Which only backs up everything that we've said.
Yeah.
Is no one has said he was an agent for.
That's not how the world works.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we keep trying to explain. There are these fixers. There are these shady characters. If you live here in DC, you're familiar with them. They do contracts for Russia. They do contracts for Qatar, for the UAE. They're hired guns. They have nexuses. They have foreign bank accounts. They have a special knowledge. What's the taken language? It's like a very specific set of skills that they have. And so, yeah, you guys released that report at Drop Site about the Israel deal with Mongolia. They're convenient actors who can just insert themselves in the process.
Epstein started out working with Adnan Khashoggi.
Exactly.
Khashoggi is CIA.
A literal CIA cutout. Like it's like this is it's trying to explain this to people who deny it is they are relying on willful ignorance and the definition of terms which are fake. Like no one has ever said he was an agent
here's his
for
Mossad card.
Yeah, here's his literal ID bank.
Wait, actually, didn't the head of Mossad tell Barry Weiss that he wasn't?
Oh, sorry, I forgot.
No, never mind.
That's right.
Sorry.
Thank you.
We apologize.
We shout out to the editor-in-chief of CBS News for her great journalism.
She settled this one.
She settled the question. She settled the question. Finally, let's put this one up here on the screen with the appropriate caveat. This is a new book, a memoir come out from Virginia Giuffre. Remember, one of the most prominent victims of Jeffrey Epstein. She did, unfortunately, take her own life recently. She'd lived a very troubled life. She famously was pictured in that photo with Prince Andrew. And in her new memoir, which was posthumously released, she says she was, quote, beaten, raped by a well-known prime minister in an attack that broke the Epstein spell, her memoir reveals. Now, Ryan, you will be shocked to learn that the New York Post said well-known prime minister and did not name the country.
Oh, New York Post, its journalistic skills failed it, finally.
What happened with that, right? Which prime minister? Who was it? And in fact, it doesn't even appear in the lead paragraph. You have to go all the way down past 3 different advertisements to say that in past, however, she had pointed to Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Barak. Now, to be clear, Mr. Barak denies it. And also to be clear, yes, Virginia Giuffre was a very troubled woman, and she did certainly say some things in the past which did not turn out to be true.
Or that she's retracted.
Or that she has retracted. Yeah, which she personally has retracted. So all appropriate caveats and all of that said, you should not necessarily take it to the bank. But the one thing nobody can ever get away from is the photo exists of her as a very young girl with her arm around Prince Andrew. Yeah. And that photo, I'm sorry, you can't make it disappear.
Right.
You just can't. And it was enough that Mr. Andrew, Prince Andrew, sorry, I apologize to the British.
Randy Andy.
So Prince Andrew, His Royal Highness,
Prince Randy Andy,
has still remained out completely of public life and had a complete meltdown of it. What was his defense? He said, I don't sweat. He's like, I'm not a sweater. Do you remember that? I mean, if that's all you got, brother, I don't know, man.
Pretty sure he sweats.
Yeah, it's like, I'm pretty sure you're human. It's like, really, the British don't sweat? Even in heat? Really? That doesn't fit with my experience, but okay.
And going through Epstein's emails with Barak, because Barak also got his emails hacked.
Of course, yeah, you guys released that.
And so there's some in there where he's like, hey, where Barak's like, can't wait to see you on the island. Maybe the security won't be there this time.
Yes, I remember that.
And there's another one where he's like, why don't you talk to these particular women that they're doing a business deal with? He's like, because you really have a way with women. Like, so like Barack, and this is post conviction and sentence. So
right.
Barack, and also everybody who talks about Epstein is like, the thing about him, even Leon Black said this, the thing about him is that he was always surrounded by beautiful women. And,
Guys,
and
it's in the birthday
women.
book. Are we not?
Yeah.
Are we stupid?
Leon
Do you remember?
Black signed the birthday
He
book.
signed the book.
Did Barack?
Look at the cartoon where they have Jeffrey Epstein 20 years. It's like a cartoon drawing of him hanging out with young girls and them all in scantily clad bikinis giving a massage on the Virgin Islands 20 years later. It was out in the open.
6 years later.
Sorry,
something.
6 something like that.
Something gross.
So gross. So that's your update. I don't even have words. The Leon Black stuff, man. I just wish. This is the problem with these, the House and all of this is get these guys. Wexner is like 90. He needs to testify while his mind is still there, okay, before he can claim dementia or something like that. Get his ass on the record and under sworn testimony. Same with Leon Black. Same with, all of the top financiers, because to date, all we have are the bullshit denials of Ghislaine Maxwell.
And I don't think we mentioned this yet. His fee to Leon Black was $40 million a year.
Right.
20. He said, I want 25 up front. Other times he would say, I want 20 up front, 20 in January, 20 in July. That's what he was getting cranky about. Like, where's my $40 million? This is a guy who has no tax licenses. He's not even allowed to give tax advice without saying, I can't give tax advice. Charging $40 million to give tax advice.
Yeah. And estate planning and art and all this. Yeah, it's such great taste, right? Like the photo of Bill Clinton in a fucking dress. Like, come on. What a joke. Hey, if you like that video, hit the like button or leave a comment below. It really helps get the show to more people.
And if you'd like to get the full show ad-free and in your inbox every morning, you can sign up at breakingpoints.com.
That's right. Get the full show, help support the future of independent media at breakingpoints.com.